Today we will identify story elements. Your task for the day is to read the story and then answer the question regarding the story elements. Let's learn with an example. Before we begin, let's take a look at our notes. As you read, think about a story's setting, characters, plot, problem, and solution. They can help you understand a story better. The setting is when and where the story takes place. The setting can contain more than one scene or place where events happen. For example, in the story of Little Red Riding Hood, the setting is a forest. But some of the story happens on a path in the forest, and some happens inside the grandmother's house in the same forest. The characters are the people or animals that act in the story. The most important characters are called main characters. The story is about them and follows what they do. The plot is the events that happen in a story, or what the characters do. The plot of a story is often told in the order that the events happen. The problem is something that goes wrong for the characters, or something that needs to be fixed or changed. The problem or conflict in a story often causes the characters to take action. The solution is how the problem in the story is solved. The solution, sometimes called the story's resolution, is what wraps up the story. Let's take a look at our example. Read the story. Then it asks, what is the story's setting? We're not going to read the whole story right now, but we are going to read the beginning so that we can get an idea of what the story's setting is. Let's remind ourselves. The setting is when and where the story takes place. Let's start reading. The village of Bandar is known to be a hard place. True, it was rocky and bitter cold, but 11-year-old Selah loved her homeland. She loved the eerie wind. She loved the spoon-gray sky. Most of all, she loved the ancient trees. But this was the secret. For this was the secret of Bandar. The trees were magic. One had only to wait for autumn when the leaves fell to release the tree's magic. The leaves were crumbled into dust and scattered while a spell was chanted. Each type of tree had its own magic. A few people, like the wise Dirna, knew all the spells, but most Banarians used only a few. After all, much of the magic was useless. Leaf dust from the magenta tree, for example, turned your hair pink. The people of Bandar were hardworking and plain. Let's see here. Which would make the most sense to be our story's setting, where the story takes place? Does it take place in a fantasy world? A long time ago in England? In an ancient city on a cold day? Or in a modern-day village? Well, I have a big clue here. I see that she's from Bandar, and I see that the trees are magic. I know that a place that contains magical trees is probably most likely going to be a fantasy world. Let's now take a look at our answer. It says the story setting is a fantasy world. Look for details in the story that tell you when and where the events are taking place. The village of Bandar was known to be a hard place. For this was the secret of Bandar. Its trees were magic. That clue about the magical trees lets us know that it is a fantasy world. Remember, as you're working, if you're confused, click Learn with an example to review the notes.